The haves and have-nots. That's the way it's always been throughout history, from the pharaohs of ancient Egypt to the Roman Empire. Power and wealth have been concentrated in the hands of a select few all across the world. These few were almost always consumed by greed and were constantly at war with each other, trying to take each other's wealth and land because they knew if they could control the money and keep the citizens distracted, they could rule the world. It's quite simple, really. Make everything entertaining to distract you from things that really matter. They buy everything with value and then destroy the money you're trapped working for. Some of us will never be okay with this. We have woken from the dream and cannot fall back asleep. We spend the majority of our lives working for money, yet people seem too tired and distracted to ever take the time to learn about it. I think there's probably a reason for that.
Boom, we are back. I know you've been waiting, but stay calm. This is Pod 167 of Bullish Bitcoin Banter and Bullshit, brought to you by Mr. All-In, aka the $1 Trillion Man, and myself, Sean Everlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. So we are 50% of the team because we're missing, surprise, surprise, no surprise, Mrs. No Show, aka still No Show, but also, the people's champ himself, Dr. Evil 10%.
Still working. Still working. At least he's, I guess, working, stacking sats. So, you know.
He's on holiday. He's on holiday
this week.
Last week was his work excuse. Now he's on holiday.
I know. It's been a while, hasn't it? But we've been getting together anyway, but we've just been eating food, spending sats. I suppose. Yeah. Anyone would think we're all-time high. It's not kind of in the doldrums the way we've been. I know. Having 7-course taster menus and stuff, so might have to, next meetup needs to be meal deal at Mackey's. Mackey's. And none of the round the back like specialities, just the kids menu.
Yeah.
That isn't an Epstein reference. That's just saying we're going cheap. Or the free toy. I've heard it's Minecraft.
Off catalogue McFlurry.
$8,000. Expensive McFlurry. It'll be delivered on Saturday at 2 a.m. McFlurry, right?
McFlurry.
The $8,000 McFlurry.
Yeah.
But now we got into like the.
It's been a while.
Yeah. We're already into the Viking the Elite pedo rings.
Oh my god, he's gone and done it again. I'm sorry. He's gone and done it again.
Declan Rice, 2-0.
2-0. It's worth, oh my gosh, wow. I don't know where he's pulled that out from.
Fair play. 2 worldies in one game. If you're going to beat me,
2 worldies.
You're going to need someone
in one game.
Worldies out of your bag, and it looks like that's what Mr. Declan's doing for you.
Yeah.
Anyway, let's get on to real business. Bitcoin.
Let's get down to business. Right, so let's talk about video. Now, there's only, 2 minutes? Just over 2 minutes long?
Yep. I would definitely playing it. I've got a feeling people may have already seen it in the intro. And we haven't talked for that long. So It's either been in the intro or it's going to be played now. So the future viewers will know what happened there. Whether they oversaw the video or I chose not to repeat it. Because I think it's just such a great video that I'll just shove it at the beginning just to like intro the show, I think, is just to make sure everybody sees it because it's just so simple. I love it as a Bitcoin video. I've taken a lot from it because it's nice and slow and like doddery, and then it has a little bit of a upbeat ending, but it doesn't try and tell you everything about Bitcoin. It doesn't go into the technicals. It doesn't explain what money is, but it does just show you that governments control the people via the money. They'll distract you via sports and entertainment, which they showed it back in the gladiator days, and then flicking forward to the American football and all that stuff, and going, yeah, you're being distracted, so you don't realize that the money's being debased. And then at the end, everything you spent your life working with crashes to zero, and they just invent another one and you go again. And at no point did you have a chance to revolt because you were distracted and just worried about whether your favorite football team can score a goal in the Champions League quarter-final. Literally, that's like, oh my God, I didn't realize how fitting like us being distracted by Arsenal scoring in the Champions League is really, because it's like, but obviously I think you have to like, you can have both sides the feet on both sides of the line, I think, in this instance, because I enjoy my football, but I know the government is corrupt as fuck and I want to bring them down. But most people, their lives are their football team or a tennis player or Formula One driver or something, isn't it? But most of the day they go out and work their arse off to pay their bills, and then in the evening, to escape from the fact that they can't afford to fix their boiler, they can't go on holiday this year, they're worried about their retirement, they just switch the TV on and escape into it and go, but in this world, I'm a winner, right? Because I'm a Man City supporter or I'm a Liverpool supporter or whatever. My team is winning, so I'm a winner because I've attached myself to this team. But in reality, when you actually just take it all away, it's like, just so you know, you're not part of that team because they do not pay you. If anything, you pay them to allow them for you to watch. And you can buy little memorabilia and you can pretend to be them by putting their shirt on and walking around and running their names on. But you ain't them. They're paying paid millions. You pay 100 quid a month to watch them on TV. And what's happening all around you is what you're doing for 70% of the time that you're awake, which is working, is the government is debasing your money and stealing it, stealing your retirement, stealing your savings, stealing your spending power. And it's all as designed, and it's designed to crash. It's designed to crash and burn. And then just as it's doing it, someone else comes up with the next form of money, and they're like, this time it's different. Come work for this new form of money. And eventually the same type of corruption happens at the top. Someone starts printing, like whether it's clipping coins or just printing for the money printer. And I love how they just got, in 2 minutes, they got that point across really, really cleanly. And they just go, and that's why we Bitcoin. And at the end, it just says like, study Bitcoin, because that's the thing, isn't it? It's like, do you disagree with anything that's just been said? And it's just so obvious that, I don't know, I'd be amazed that even the normies might nod all the way through. And at the end, it's like, we're not going to explain Bitcoin to you now, because that's going to require quite a lot of detail, quite a lot of explanations. A lot of people turn off on it, and everyone's got a different learning style. So just Google it. Start going down the rabbit hole yourself, and your path might be completely different to someone else's, and probably everybody's will be slightly different, or on a different level of knowledge. But I love this as a bit of a teaser for a normie to go, do you not want to find out more about Bitcoin after this? And I'd like to think a lot of people would say yes at the end.
Yeah. It may be the superior orange pill that we've been looking for to give everybody. But do you know what? I think I dropped the video in my in a WhatsApp group. There was no ripples.
Okay. But
yeah, so because I loved it, immediately, and something that you said, and I will say it's 3-0 now. By the way,
I've just seen like what the fuck.
I didn't want to interrupt you, but
the
I
government
ejaculated.
The government is trying to distract us from sharing the message of Bitcoin here by having Arsenal rattling goals when we're trying to talk about Bitcoin.
Yeah.
The government conspiracy. Declan Rice is I bet he's employed by the WEF. He's found out the 4B's podcast was on tonight, and the second we click record, he started slamming in screeners.
Yeah. Don Carlo Ancelotti's about to have a heart attack on the sidelines as well. Yeah.
Because he'll be fired by Thursday after this. Yeah. Like they don't mess about him. What do you mean you won the league? You lost 3-0 to Arsenal. Fired. Yes. Oh, you won, leg. I might have turned it round. Nah, fired.
Gone.
But go on. What were you saying?
No, without tooting our own horns, it's interesting because in our group, we're not that distracted by, we rarely, even though we're all football fans, we rarely talk about football. We rarely talk about fantasy football. We talk about the focus of money, and we've been doing it for a long period of time. But in other WhatsApp groups or just in friendship groups, you are talking about what's the latest gossip, or this celebrity's doing this, or this football team's doing that, etc. And it's not that we're adverse to ever, knowing that this is going on, but it is there as a true distraction, but it distracts more than 80%, 90% of people as their full-time thing.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually. I think it really helps because I think you've started a few of the groups and you put Bitcoin in the title of our groups, usually, or something related to that, right? And it almost sets the tone to go, this is what we're talking about in here. Even though it's just like a load of mates just like having a chat, and technically there's no rules. But you're right, I think it keeps 95% of the conversation will be Bitcoin related in some shape or form. And occasionally there'll be a little off-topic comment, but don't rarely gets much traction, doesn't last long. It's like, this isn't the place for that. Like, go chat to your normie mates if you want to like chat about that. But we're here to talk about the revolution.
Exactly that.
And and there's never enough that could be said about that.
Never.
So,
there's always a more
important topic than the freaking everything, right? So, and that is what Bitcoin is. So,
I'll be keen to see some comments and reviews in terms of the video. And actually, I might tell you what I might do is I'll reshare your video as well. So I'll go onto the old timeline.
Yeah, on Mr. LinkedIn, yeah. So only thing LinkedIn is useful for, I think, is trying to just put a bit of Bitcoin content down there. I keep trying to go viral and just get baited, like baiting the fiat bros, but it's quite hard. I managed to get one on there. I think I was talking about inflation, and then there's a few fiat bros came in, started going, but TVs are cheaper now than they were 5 years ago. And like, congratulations, you found there's a couple of products that find economies of scale. But by and large, you're actually telling me inflation isn't real. Like on average, the price of the average item has not gone up. Because even the government admit that. I shouldn't be pushing something uphill here. Like the government admit that inflation is a thing, and that admittedly they lie about the number, and all my argument is that that the inflation is higher than what they say it was. And then you get some fiat bros go, oh, this £1,000 TV costs £150 now. Why didn't inflation hurt that? And you can cherry pick examples all day long, but we're talking about, on average, the cost of goods for the average household. Are you telling me that hasn't gone up year on year for the last 50 years? If you are. And they straight away go, oh, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, but what about this? And there's a term for it, actually, There's actually a term for it. And it's a sign of low IQ when somebody tells you something that by and large you agree with, but you find an exception to the rule and you bring it up, it's a sign of low intelligence. So, and it's got a name.
Okay.
The name. Put it in the comments. I would love it. But
there we go.
It's got a great name because I suddenly realized that so many people that argue against Bitcoin do exactly that. There's so many examples because normally like nearly all the FUD is that, right? It's like, oh, but like Bitcoin does so much good, like all the transactions that are good, but then someone will find a transaction that led to a terrorist plot or something something spurious, and they go, yeah, but what about that? You go, well, what about the other 9 billion transactions that have happened in the last year? You're going to pull that one out. So clearly I could do that against fiat money as well, but I don't even see that as a proper argument against fiat money. The only time I think it ever gets raised is when it gets put against Bitcoin, because you go, well, any good money will get used for bad things. That's like going, we shouldn't use knives because one person will pick up a bread knife and stab their partner with it, and you're like, well, yeah, well, that's one person out of a billion will do that, right? But we need to cut our bread, so can we all have bread knives, please?
Yeah.
It's just it's a nonsensical low IQ comment, and
Well, I was reading this book by Jeff White called Rinsed, and it's interesting because he kept on referring to crypto, even though it's obviously Bitcoin, and how criminals were using it as a way to launder money, but they weren't really laundering money. What they were doing is that they realized that if they wanted to increase their wealth, then it's better to do it in something like this, because as we know, all transactions are visible and on the blockchain, so you can't do it that way. And ultimately, he just couldn't make the distinction as to why they were putting their money in that as opposed to anything else, and instead just kind of badmouthed it. But anyone with any sense knew that what they were really doing is they were trying to preserve their wealth as opposed to keeping it in cash and putting it into an asset that just continued to go up.
I like it.
Yeah.
Cool. Our next story has already kind of been disproved, I think, but I'll show it anyway. So we have Mr. Crypto here. Bad name, but whatever. He says that the lack of spending was going to end on April 1st because this got tweeted, March 19th.
Yeah.
And so the money printer's coming back, massively bullish for Bitcoin. So he's got like an article in here that basically alludes to the fact that since Trump came in, he very much wanted the interest rates to be down, and they thought that they would be down by now, and they weren't, because to be fair to Trump, what he seems to be doing is trying to service the debt that America has by getting interest rates down. Then you refinance your debt at the low interest rate, and then you freaking pump the money printer, have everything go up, and you put that money into the stuff that goes up, which then means you can easily pay off your debt, if not potentially clear it, right?
Yeah.
Clearly none of that happened, so he's gone and brought out the tariffs instead of the money printer. So that is what came instead of money printing. And that has caused worldwide chaos. So that is where
the tariffs are going to take some time, aren't they? And it's whether or not he has enough time from the tariffs, because of course they're going to have the midterms, and at some point we all know they all need to turn on the money printer.
Yeah.
So is it going to?
He's done it all very quick, hasn't he?
Yeah, really quick, really quick.
You got in January, and
oh yeah,
he's been ripping up government departments and closing them down, slashing through government spending, and now he's realised, hold on, we're playing loads of tariffs here to all these countries, tariff them back, and clearly, like as a Bitcoiner, I don't believe in tariffs. Clearly, they it's just another form of tax. But at the moment, like global commerce is so convoluted and stupid. I think everybody that has bought something from another country, and then you get the import taxes added on.
Yeah.
Obviously, as someone based in the UK, like you buy like, a lot of Bitcoin stuff that you buy can come from America, and if you buy a couple of £100 worth of those things, or sometimes it's like a block clock or something will set you back like 500 quid, and then
Yeah.
the thing arrives and it's in customs, and they go, "We want £100 off you." And you're like, "What? What for? Give
Yeah.
me my thing." Like import tax, import duty, whatever they call it. Sometimes they drop the word tax, don't they? Call it import duty. Like, oh, what's a
Yeah.
duty?
Yeah.
Fucking tax, and it's like 100 odd quid. And you have to pay it. Otherwise, they just go, if you don't pay it in 2 weeks, I think, we'll send it back. Like, what do you mean you send my item back that's been shipped halfway across the world? So you're gonna spend money sending it back instead of giving it to me? You're that fucking petty. And I'm like, damn right we are. Like, we know you want your thing. And you're like, yeah, I want my thing. Here's your 100 quid. Like, and all that's going to happen as part of this tariff thing is a load of Americans are going to get a load of those letters, I guess. Who knows? I guess it mainly affects companies, but yeah, it's just, and more taxation is never the solution to, oh, we're in the hole because we tax people too much and print too much money. What's the solution to this? Another form of tax. It's about not on our people, on other people. And you go, right, but the the costs always come back. You can't
Yeah.
up the cost of one supplier and have them go, oh yeah, we'll still sell it to you for the same price though. No, if you put 30% tariffs on people, the price of that thing goes up by 30%. And I get it. I get the driver is to try and get American manufacturing more, but I've seen some great memes on Twitter about this. Like these big fat American guy, like at a sewing machine, like sewing some knickers together. Because like bringing manufacturing back to America, like
Yeah.
American made. It sounds great, doesn't it? But you do realize there's sweatshops all around the world that where the majority of your clothing, trainers, footballs, freaking nearly everything comes from these places. And even if you kind of pay a minimum wage and make these places like not be slave labor like largely what it is today,
Largely.
they're all fucking miserable in there. Like you've still got to sew £1,000 knickers together every single day, otherwise you get fired. Like that's the job you want, is it? Because they're the jobs that are coming back. Like all these, like all the things that you see on Twitter, like where people grab like TikToks and stuff of product managers and salespeople that work for Twitter or Facebook or LinkedIn and Instagram, and they're all just having the time of their lives, like working at home, like hard day. I had 4 meetings like that I wasn't even running or in, like I was just fucking sat in the background, like yeah, go and sew £1,000 of knickers together every day for a decade, and then tell me that
Yeah.
that's what you wanted. And guess what? Obviously, the price of those knickers is going to 10x because you're not using slave labor anymore. You're actually paying a living wage.
Correct.
So,
Even with the import tax.
but I respect what Trump's trying to do, though. I must admit, because it's one of them where switching to a Bitcoin standard has a lot of pain because getting people off the money printer, there's a lot of things that cost the wrong amount at the moment. The government do provide a lot of services, so all these need to transition in a way. So there's going to be pain before kind of the gain of the living on a Bitcoin standard, because a lot of people are going to be very like a lot of people can get fired, for example. So nearly everybody that works for the government ain't going to have a job. So they're going to have to transition out of those jobs, and then the private market will grow and replace those things and be way more efficient, provide much better services. But that doesn't happen overnight. That takes a number of years to actually come into play. So there's a period
Agreed.
there of uncertainty. There's a lack of public services until the market can fill it. And that'll be the same thing with the tariffs. There's going to be a lot of products that just don't get into America now or too expensive. So that opens up the market then for American companies to fill the void. But it takes years for them to grow and scale and to figure stuff out. It doesn't just happen in a week. So,
and this is, I don't know how long have they got. How
I
long
guess
can
Trump's got
Trump?
4 years, hasn't he?
Well, I don't know if he can continue along this path for 4 years, though.
Well, who knows? Like,
Yeah,
the thing is, like, knowing Trump, he probably won't really play this out as long as he should. Because if you were trying to fix America, it's
correct.
absolutely what you would do. It's
Exactly. Yeah,
if you're not going to move to a Bitcoin standard, like this is another option. If you're staying in fiat land, but you have to. This is why like 4 year terms never make sense. Like really, you should vote someone in on
no,
20 year terms. But obviously, that leaves a lot of room for corruption and people to get lazy and all that kind of stuff. You're like, oh great, I'm in. I got 20 years of this
dictatorship.
a week.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, but if you're going to actually genuinely try and make a dent in some country's debt, it actually would take 20 years to fix that. So if someone is going well, I reckon you should maybe have like 2 to 4 year checkpoints to go, you're still doing good. And unless there's like an overwhelming majority that say no, you don't have an election. Just let them keep going. Let them keep going for as long as the country thinks it's going in the right direction. Because obviously, switching every 4 years, it kind of creates the kind of chaos that Trump's doing now. But you have
yeah,
to, because you almost have to make all these massive changes in the first 6 months, because you're going to have 6 months to a year of fallout, and then hopefully you still have 2 years left to get some of the benefit. But
yeah.
it's like you're still trying to speed run it. You're trying to speed run undoing 50 years of damage in 4.
And also, as well, the other side are hoping to get in, and then they'll just change exactly what you've done.
No, of course. Oh, of course. That's the ironic thing. Yeah.
Yeah, undo all of that hurt, or sorry, all of the any joy that you may have got from it, just so that they can do the opposite.
Yeah. And usually that's exactly what the public do as well. They lurch
Yeah,
from one extreme to the next extreme, one extreme to the next extreme. So at the moment, I think we're doing a lot of free market type, kind of stuff. Can almost guarantee they're voting a freaking socialist next. And you're like, so we're just going to ramp up government spending. It's just been ramped down, and they'll just quadruple it
yeah.
back up. And then the next person they vote in will be like, I think we should cut the government down again. Oh. Of course you do. But
Of
anyway,
course.
and enough of all that bollocks. Should we move back to Bitcoin? And
Let's.
we've got a great tweet
Bitcoin.
here. I think this is
I love this.
isn't this just about everybody that we've got, like every Bitcoiner someone complaining their significant other sitting on a mass amount of Bitcoins causing strain on a relationship. My husband invested a decent amount back in 2011. Reckon he's got 3 to 5 million, maybe even more. I love how she doesn't know. So she doesn't know how many coins he's got. She just knows the fiat value. So he just like floats like, it's worth millions, babe. It's worth millions. Just don't worry your mind about it. And it 10x's. It's like technically still worth millions. It's now tens of millions, but don't worry about it. So she's like, great, you might think. In a lot of ways it is. The problem from my perspective is that he's also a true believer in Bitcoin. That means he genuinely believes that the global monetary system will collapse soon, and Bitcoin will be used by everyone for every transaction and every investment. He intends to hold forever. The faintest suggestion to sell even a tiny fraction of the holding results in an immediate no and a complete shutdown of the conversation.
Good lad.
Good lad. Exactly. It's
Good lad.
yeah, it's kind of pretty epic. I must admit, like, I'm sure, like, the fact that he keeps it quiet and they seem to be doing well, I'm sure behind the scenes he probably is selling little pieces just to like keep his life going and have those little things. But whenever she comes in with, could you have a new kitchen? Da da da. He's like, no, it's not for that. It's not for that bollocks. It's I may sell some here or there. You have no clue on the value. I'd love the fact that if he sat on like 35 million now, and she's still asking for like that 15 grand kitchen. He's like, nope. It's like you wouldn't even notice it from a stack that big. The fluctuations on a daily basis will be 200 to 300 grand at least, if not
minimum.
millions.
Yeah.
And Nope, you're not having 15k out of that. Nope, nope. This
The
I
thing
like the
is,
number of Bitcoin I have now, and I know that a number, and it ain't fucking changing.
I remember I spoke to Dr. Evil 10% when we were like at the top of the market at the beginning of the year. And I said to him something like, this just makes me more and more bullish not to do these types of things in terms of actually feeling rich or wealthy. And it is, I think it's like, the same mentality that it took you to get there is the same mentality that you continue to retain. And
Mm.
it's interesting, like when you see people, or when you hear people say, oh, if I had that much money, like as a billionaire, I wouldn't be working.
Mm.
But the reason why they're working is the fact that that's what got them there to in the first place,
Yeah,
and so they can't just switch that trigger off. That's them, unfortunately,
yeah,
or fortunately for them.
yeah. No, it's like, yeah, I'd have the Ferrari. I'd be sitting on an island just sipping
Correct.
cocktails. It's like, in
Yeah.
reality, you've just told us everything about you there. That you're lazy, like any sense of ambition or work ethic. So you will never get close to the position
Correct.
that that person is in.
Yeah.
Because the second you got to 500,000, you'd blow it.
Yeah.
You'd sell it all and go and buy the Ferrari, and you'd be back to fucking zero again. You would never ride it up high enough. Like the people that make the billion, Jesus Christ,
Mm.
they probably lived like a pauper when they had 500 million in the bank because they're like, ain't stopping till I got a billy.
Yeah.
I don't want to
It's
take
not
a couple of
enough.
million out now because I only have 498 million. I'm taking a step back. I need to keep
Yeah.
going forward. I want the billy. It's like, and it's that mindset that gets you there. Spending on like frivolous items is, yeah, as we all know, like everyone that buys them, like bring you a little bit of short term joy, and then you fast forward 6 months, you've forgotten you even got the thing, and
Yeah.
that could have like, the amount of money you just spent there. That could have been a year of you enjoying time with the family instead of having to work. So, I'm a big fan of buying your time back, but of course, be busy. Be busy being a family person, and doing your hobbies, and grind here and there, and like do a few side hustles and have a good time. But yeah, like anyone that thinks it's going to go off and retire, live on an island and sip cocktails, like that gets boring after about 10 days.
Yeah.
Literally do it for 2 weeks, and on day 10 you're going, I'm already bored of this routine. We've already got into a
Yeah.
routine of just getting up late, sunbathing, having a bit of lunch, sunbathing, drinking a cocktail, having some nice food, and then just kind of going to bed and then doing the same tomorrow. It's like
Yeah.
it doesn't. No matter how much money you've got, it's such an empty existence that, and obviously surrounding it, like building that life around alcohol as well, clearly is also
Mm.
just a fool's errand. Like alcohol is not
Yeah.
something to aspire to be able to drink every day.
Yeah.
Jesus, like homeless people and alcoholics drink alcohol every day, and I'm not sure they're something to, their lifestyles aren't exactly enviable. So
I can only imagine through extreme burnout and exhaustion, perhaps going longer than the 2 weeks, and just thinking, look, I just need a mental checkout and break. But to do that for forever and believe that that's the existence, and as you say, especially on the drinking front, drinking every day, it just wouldn't be fun.
no, I mean, there's plenty of people that work that drink every day.
Yeah.
It's all part of their escapism, right? You know what I've
Yeah,
realized this.
yeah.
If you watch Netflix shows now, everybody drinks. Every,
Mm,
the women have all got wine glasses in their hands, and the men have all got
yeah,
whiskey glasses. It's nuts. Once I
yeah.
noticed it, I'm like, holy shit! Everybody is drinking all the time, but no one's drunk. Everyone's just
No, no,
they're just
yeah.
drinking, and like the way they drink whiskey is a double every freaking time they sip it. You're like, that guy would be freaking on the floor by now, and it's
Yeah,
10 a.m. and I've seen him drink 3 whiskeys in that time. And yet, no one, anyone that's a whiskey drinker doesn't drink it that fast because they just know that he's half a bottle through and it's 10 a.m. Like, he's not going to make the day. He's got a lot of stuff to do. Like, we've just heard the whole plot of what he's about to do, and he's already half cut. So is this guy an alky? It's like, but they never are alcoholics in the shows I'm talking about. They are just normal people going about their day. But the conversation they're having normally is like quite heated or emotional or stressful. So halfway through, they'll just walk off and crack open a drink and just start. And it just, again, it's there's so much freaking propaganda getting forced to us. It's like, oh yeah, in stressful situations, have a drink. I'm like, that's the opposite of what I do in stress. I want to be clear headed. I drink when I'm in a good place. I want a little bit to just heighten my mood even further and go, oh yeah, have a bit of fun with it. If I'm in a bad place and I'm drinking, oh, I'm in a real bad place, like real bad place, because I know that is not a path to go down. Anyway,
yeah, we digress.
Yeah. This trader guy is he's been doing the rounds, right? And again, I think he's already kind of had his 15 minutes probably in the spotlight, but he's called Josh Mandel, and anyone that has seen his profile picture may recognize him. Like, people are literally taking little cuts of his shirt and going, "Who's this guy?" And everyone freaking knew him for about 2 weeks, and it was because he made this crazy prediction back in November 27 last year, and he basically called this guy out and went, how about we make a bet on the closing price? And so the guy comes back and he's like, okay, end of March 2025. It's basically 5 months away. And he went, okay, March 14th, so Pi Day, 3.14, 14th of March, Bitcoin will be 84K. You set the wager. Now, as far as I know, he didn't wager. He didn't bet, but he was bang on. The price at the close on March 14th was 84K, and I think about like $27. It was insane. So he picked it so well. And you go, oh, but you put a billion monkeys on typewriters, eventually they'll write the entire works of Shakespeare. So that's kind of what we've got in Bitcoin land, isn't it? Like, you got a million traders all putting out random shit, and eventually one of them's going to get it spot on. It's like, oh my god, it's the second coming of Christ. No, there's been like 1,000 predictions about what the price will be, and one of them got it right, and now we're suddenly like, oh, but this guy actually doesn't do that. He seems to be, very rarely does he put a price prediction out. He's done it here and got it right. And apparently he's a super crazy billionaire, all from trading. He might be actually one of the few people that can actually trade. What I also like about him, he's got no paid groups, and he doesn't talk about how he does it. And if anything,
interesting.
He talks about stuff like, there's only 7 people in the world that know what I know, and like 4 of them died in 9/11. So that leaves only 3 of us, and I'm one of them. And I'm not going to tell you who the other 2 are. And he keeps throwing out this cryptic kind of comments like that. But then other people have gone, oh, he likes to troll as well. So it's very hard to know. He's a very intelligent guy, but he also jokes a lot. So sometimes you can't tell. But then he was doing a Twitter Spaces as well, because he got kind of super famous from this prediction. His account kind of blew up. And he's a Bitcoiner. And I love the quote from this. There's a 5-minute clip here. We'll link it in the comments so you can check it out if you want. We're not going to play it. But, little things like saying you get Bitcoin at the price you deserve.
Always.
And essentially, a newborn child deserves Bitcoin at the price of 0. What he basically means by that is you need to buy it for him now. and gift it. It's for us to gift it to our children. They're not going to be able to afford it by the time they are old enough to buy it. So we have to buy it now. And yeah, in his entire chat, when he discusses Bitcoin, he's very different to normal trader. He's actually a Bitcoiner, right? He clearly trades Bitcoin because, well, who knows? According to him, he's got inside information that only a few other people in the world know. So hey, why wouldn't you trade it if you've seriously got a secret source? Fucking hell, I'd be trading Bitcoin if I could 10x my stack. I'd fucking do it tomorrow, but I ain't touching it because I know I do not know what he knows, and I'll just decimate my stack down zero, down to.
It's the classic. Why don't you sell when it goes up high and then wait for it to crash? Because I don't know when it's going to go high to its highest point, and I don't know when it's going to crash, and I don't know what the bottom is.
Yeah, I know. The amount of times Bitcoin goes down by 10% and then the next day up by 30.
Yeah.
I meant to sell that 10% and then be left behind. Yeah, and then obviously maybe it goes down by 30. Like, oh, you should have sold at 10, shouldn't you? What? I didn't know it's going to go down another 20, did I, dickhead? And like, yeah. But yeah, trading is an anagram of retard for a reason. Well, trader is an anagram of retard. And then it's very close to trading, really. We've got Sailor up next because I put it in the notes and basically going, is Sailor flying a little bit close to the sun here? Because basically he's put out this thing, right, where he's got a perpetual preferred stock offering, where yet again they're trying to sell more stock to raise money to buy Bitcoin. And essentially it's got a perpetual 10% dividend paid in dollars. But it's bizarre because they don't have enough money to pay that out from the business. So, as in the majority of the money that is now in MicroStrategy, which has been rebranded to Strategy, is in Bitcoin. So what are they going to, if you buy this, you're guaranteed 10% dividend every year. But that means they'd have to sell Bitcoin. He said they're not going to do that. But Strategy doesn't make enough revenue to pay the 10%.
No.
So it's almost like, what is going on? And then this person, admittedly, I think they're being a bit crazy with this one, but they're basically going, is MicroStrategy already too big to fail? And that the US government could seize it and nationalize it? And then you just kind of go, oh, Jesus Christ, if that happens, then the conspiracy theorists saying that Michael Saylor was basically a CIA like undercover agent the entire time suddenly becomes true, right? Because they're using public money to buy Bitcoin, put it into a private institution, but then run it into the rocks, go bust, and then the government bails it out and essentially seizes control.
Yeah.
Oh, that isn't how this is meant to play out. They got 500,000 Bitcoin.
I look at it and I think, well, we've always been wary and skeptical of Saylor for these reasons, as in, just feels too good to be true. The name change to Strategy is interesting as well, but yeah, someone needs to, again, I've not read through all of the comments. It was 113 comments around it. But someone in there has to explain how they are planning on paying out in dollars.
Yeah, and I think even if they could, right, it's just there's raising debt and then there's raising debt and then there's fucking raising debt.
Yeah.
That's where Saylor is now. Right? He started off raising hundreds of millions of debt, then it turned into billions. Now it's tens of billions. And he's already done that actually. Now he wants to do even more. And you go, at some point, when does this become just reckless? Like Bitcoin could go in a 4-year bear market, right? And he's completely underwater on a lot of loans, and yeah, it's almost like he's trying to, like, it's just so silly. Once you've got half a million of Bitcoin, right, and you're worth like 7, 8, 9 billion, and you know the thing is 10xing in the next year or so, like that's going to make you one of the richest guys on the planet, and we're not even done yet. It's going to keep going from there. Why risk it? What if you are 5 years too early or something?
Yeah.
And you can't survive the 5 years, go bust. And that's all assuming this is all legit, right? It's just as a private individual, and he is just doing what he thinks is best. I just don't know. Is it greed? I don't know. Because I don't, like, he's never really said what he's going to do with the money. Like, he's already got a ridiculous amount of Bitcoin. Like, he could do a lot of good in Bitcoin just by setting up like a non-profit, throwing 100,000 Bitcoin into it, and just hiring a shit ton worth of Bitcoin devs just to work on Bitcoin with no agenda, no boss, just here's the money. All you got to do is prove that you're working on Bitcoin in some shape or form. Do it. You'll get 100 grand a year. Improve Bitcoin. Jump into the GitHub and just do it. He could probably employ 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 engineers for the next decade.
Easily.
And that would do an enormous amount of good for Bitcoin. But I know, and it would also hugely protect the other 400,000 Bitcoin that he had left. But just raising debt to buy more and more Bitcoin, don't know, I guess he thinks helping the price, which indirectly helps a lot of Bitcoiners, but he's also creating a honeypot here of, he's essentially becoming one of the biggest, or probably is one of the biggest holders of Bitcoin, and it's just a small little company, really. It's kind of a nothing company, really. MicroStrategy. No one had ever heard of them. Now they're a huge company, but just because they raised loads of debt, bought Bitcoin, that's it. Like, any company could technically have done this.
I was thinking, is he trying to collapse the bank that he's borrowing the money from?
What doing? What is it? 2000? What's it? Christian Bale. What was that guy?
Yeah,
Big Short.
yeah. Because ultimately, he won't obviously be paying the debt back himself, even though obviously it's a billionaire. This is in the company, so
And maybe he thinks he never will have to pay it back because the banks are going
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Here's Michael Berry. Yeah, Michael Berry made sure, but he was betting the banks went bust, so made them put his funds in a separate account because they went,
So
when my
maybe,
bet comes in, I want to get paid because I know you'll be bust when I say it, that when I'm right. But in this
but
instance,
maybe he just thinks that they're going to be bust anyway. But in the meantime, I'll just continue to milk them for as much as I can, get what I need out of them, and naturally you'll be bust anyway. So I'll never have to pay you the money back because you'll essentially be gone.
yeah, yeah, and that's a great plan, but it kind of still falls back to my point, which is, what if you're 5 years too early?
Correct.
What if
Yeah.
they don't go bust for 5 years and the price of Bitcoin goes the other way? These debts
Yeah.
get called in and you can't afford it. So essentially, you have to sell a huge portion of that Bitcoin to repay back the debt that you took. And all you had to do to avoid that was to not over leverage yourself. You could have
Yeah.
still leveraged yourself. Like, you're still a billionaire, right? So once you're a billionaire, you get access to these 0% interest rates and all that kind of good stuff. But still, the payments still need to be made. It's
Yeah.
not 0% and you don't pay anything back. It's still, you pay back what you lent, and he's lending billions. and he's not selling Bitcoin. So how are you paying it back? Because yeah, you've got a lot of paper gains in your Bitcoin,
Yeah.
but you're not using the gains to pay the debt back. So what are you using to pay it back?
Correct.
And I think the problem with everything is with MicroStrategy is they don't hold their own Bitcoin. We can't see any of their transactions. We can't formally see how much Bitcoin they actually have, other than say as tweets. Um, so we don't know whether they're selling Bitcoin. They could well be selling Bitcoin behind the scenes, like buying like billions, but then selling, a couple of million a month or
Well,
something
yeah.
to refinance to pay off debt. And obviously, he said they never sold any, so maybe they haven't, but it doesn't make sense. You can't loan tens of billions, and it almost starts looking like a bit like a Ponzi scheme. I guess the way he's paying it back is he keeps raising more debt. So then it's one of them, isn't it? It literally is a bit like a Ponzi scheme, which is how do I pay off the people I just scammed and stole their money? Oh, I get more people in. Then I use some of their money to pay off the first people to keep them quiet
Yeah.
for a bit. Then I take the
Yeah.
majority of that person's money and keep it myself. But then they start getting loud. So I need to find some more people to scam, pay off them, give the first people a bit, then take some for myself. Now I need another layer. And eventually, once you get about 7 layers deep, there's so many people screaming at you, it all collapses. So, I don't know. It almost feels like that's what he's doing, right? So it suddenly clicked then that the reason why he's raising this new preferred stock option thing is that will raise a shit ton of money. He'll buy Bitcoin with some of it, but I'd imagine he'll be paying off his debtors with the rest of it. That's where the money's coming from. Bitcoiners buying his preferred stock of this dividend for 10% and all that. He's using them to pay off the people we just loaned off previously. But then
Yeah.
those people need getting paid. So he needs another thing to pay them off.
Correct.
This doesn't sound good. This is like stealing off Peter to pay Paul.
100%. And I think
steal off Paul to pay Peter. Like
Pod
eventually
167 will be the one where we said, "Aha, we told you so." Because I just don't see where else it's coming from ultimately. Again, everything's pretty clear and it's all happening in plain sight. There is no more money. We know how much MicroStrategy as a company makes.
Yeah, and
That's it.
It's pretty profitable. I think it makes like 25 million profit or something a year. But that's small fry when you're loaning billions.
Yeah.
We'll see, eh?
We'll see, Mr. Sailor. Right. We are on to next story. Go. The Euro CBDC.
Yeah.
Which is in October. So we've been it's been quiet really on the CBDC front. But as it says here, the ECB is prepping the ground for the digital euro launch. So we are going to see a digital euro CBDC.
Yeah, by October, which that's no time, isn't it? It's literally 6 months away.
It's no time.
I love the fact that it's part of this tweet here. You got CBDC in Europe. Oh, yikes, get off that. And then Israel. But also, of course, they are fucking Jews. But I just love they're such a tiny, insignificant country. Like, why is that even be announced in the same thing? But of course, Israel always get preferential treatment. But yeah, this is. I think the only reason I put this in is like it wasn't massively new news, even though this article is relatively new. But we mentioned it on the last pod, because I'd seen that the EU was doing this, and I knew it was coming out this year, but I didn't know when. I couldn't really remember. And this is the article basically going, "Oh, it's real, and it's coming in October." So the first thing I'd love to see here is a big European government like them actually launching a project on time, even though it is massively in their benefits, right? But they're incompetent idiots that employ morons on purpose. So trying to do a project like this. I'm guessing they've outsourced it, but I'd be amazed if it actually happens. And if it does, wow, I will be fascinated to watch it play out because thank fuck for Brexit. Like we're not part of it. It's like we wouldn't be if we hadn't done that. I know we had our own currency, but there's a chance, especially with like Starmer in charge at the moment, a WEF puppet. If we'd have been in Europe, I can almost guarantee our pounds would be gone and we would be getting them replaced with some weird CBDC in October. And suddenly we'll see how it plays out, won't we? We'll obviously everyone's got very big concerns around their privacy and then the authoritarianism that can come in with blocking payments, saying you've hit your carbon footprint for the month, like, oh you've brought too much meat this week. No, you literally can't check out if there's meat on your bill. No, you need more veg and sludge, please. More crickets and bugs. That's get your protein from there. You're not having any of that steak. You've had 2 steaks this month already. That's your allowance. Who knows how much of that stuff they put in? I'm guessing they'll probably go relatively light on V1 and just be like, oh, it's just a nice little app, a nice little government app, and your money's in there. Fantastic.
Yeah, here's your money. Here's your 500 CBDCs. Use it wisely.
Yeah, it'll be version 2, 3, and 4 that slowly but surely the walls start closing in on you. But the initial thing is, I'll just be absolutely amazed if they actually manage to do it, to even roll it out anywhere near it. I would imagine, right? And my guess would be by July, I'm going to say June. By June, they'll say a different date.
Yeah.
Some point in 2026, at least 6 months back. They'll push about 6 months and then probably a couple more times after that. But I don't think it will launch this year because they've announced it and the date is only 6 months away. Which, if you're launching something that big and you're 6 months away from it, it needs to be ready now, and you're just doing testing. Because 6 months of testing and rolling out a new currency is bare minimum. You can't have a more important product than this. And I've got a feeling they haven't even fucking finished it yet. And it will fail so bad in testing because I can't wait for like a load of hackers and smart engineers. Like they'll have 4 billion CBDC coins in their wallet 15 minutes after that thing goes live. And they're like, how the fuck have you done that? It's like, because there's a bug. If you do this, this, and this, and then hack it with that, put this app in, I can like double spend because the people doing that app, they ain't Satoshi. They don't get things perfect first time. This is the government we're talking about. This will be pushed and pulled and ripped apart, and I doubt it even goes live in the net. I'd say it won't go live for 3 years. I'll say 2028.
Yep.
Not 2025.
We are not ever ready for that, and we already. Yeah, exactly. We've always said it will need to be a country that does it successfully, that we will then copy the model, literally rip and replace, or sorry, not rip and replace, we'll just be putting over a new logo with the EU banner. Copy paste. Exactly that. They will never be able to do it themselves and go first.
Yeah. I guess they're just like challenging my own opinion is that is what they're doing anyway. They are guys, like how you said that they're going to do it, watch it roll out, and then put a badge on it. They're just putting a badge on fiat and pretending it's on the blockchain. We still know it's in the same databases that the money's at now. So I'm guessing all they've really done is put the CBDC logo on one of the big banks' banking apps, I guess, and then just put a load of surveillance and blocking type features over the top of it. So maybe it's not as difficult as maybe I thought, but still, if it's some form of government app, or because maybe it isn't even a government app, maybe it's just a thing that suddenly all the banks have to comply to, and now suddenly your money gets converted to CBDC. So then they're pushing all the development off into the banks as opposed to having to do it themselves. That would be a smarter tactic because the banks actually have real engineers that know what they're doing. But again, as we know, the top 5 banks in the world have still based most of their infrastructure on mainframe stuff that was built in the 80s. So
Correct. I had a very similar conversation today with a large high street bank along those lines. So yeah, exactly that. They were like, "Oh, we like what you do, but we can't do that with our current legacy tech."
Yeah.
So it's
The
just
engineer that
going
did
to
that
happen.
died like 20 years ago, so we're terrified to touch it.
Correct.
It processes billions of transactions like a day, and it works at the moment. So
It works, yeah.
we employ one person to stand outside that room with a gun, and no one's allowed in. It's just like, if that computer ever breaks, like our entire bank is done. Yeah, I guess they're the people that you're looking to like roll out a CBDC for you.
Yeah.
Good luck. Right, cool. A little bit of switch your pace on this one. This is a tweet I saw today about the Titanic. And you would think, like, how the hell is the Titanic related to Bitcoin? Well, you will find out. So the Titanic didn't sink the way you think it did. JP Morgan had a first class ticket. He cancelled. His biggest financial rival stayed on board, never made it back. So this whole story, there's a massive tweet thread here, which basically goes through a whole lot of stuff. It is a great thread. I'd encourage everybody to read it. But essentially, what they are saying in here is that there's multiple, there's 2 little tactics that were used, or 2 benefits of the Titanic sinking. Number one was there's a theory that there was 2 boats, well, there were 2 boats created, the Titanic and the sister ship. Now, the sister ship in the build went wrong, and so it was uninsurable. So the amount of money they'd spent on that ship was completely for nothing. So there's a theory that they took the branding off Titanic and put it onto the sister ship, and then put the sister ship's branding on the Titanic. So then they could re-review the sister ship, which now is a Titanic. It would pass and suddenly be worth loads of money, and then sink the broken one. But there's no guarantee it would sink. They just couldn't insure it. So they wanted to do an insurance fraud scam on this huge ship. So they were going to do that anyway. But what a better way of also getting rid of your political opponents. So JP Morgan, like it says there, first class ticket, he was leading. And guess his main initiative of what he wanted was to start something called the Federal Reserve, which, as we all know now, this is how it links to Bitcoin. They wanted to start the money printer off. Now, there was 3 very strong opponents to that. All 3 died on the Titanic, giving JP Morgan and his cronies free path to create the Fed, and obviously then create the banks next to the Fed that benefited, who receive all the money first to then fire it out. So you got a double spring thing, and then again, there's things and pictures of the Titanic to support the case that it didn't go down through an iceberg. There's a burn on the side of the ship before it leaves, suggesting there's a fire in the engine room already. And then on the ship itself, you look at the wreckage, where that burn is, the steel is blown outwards to suggest there's an explosion from inside. But if it got hit by an iceberg, the steel should be bending in. So there's a number of things. And then even the investigation afterwards, the Americans and the British both refused to investigate why it went down. They just went, well, it was an iceberg, wasn't it? And then just closed the case and went, iceberg. No one really looked into it detailedly and going, well, of course they wouldn't. If this conspiracy is true, they're clearly the people that are starting the Fed and running the banks are also running whether the investigation happens on this or not.
There are survivors from there were survivors from the Titanic.
Yep.
who I guess obviously did claim that there were an iceberg that they hit.
Nah, not one person saw it. If you remember, it was at night, everybody was in bed, and even the person that was looking out for icebergs didn't see it. That's why they hit it, right?
Very true.
All everybody heard was a big bang.
Yeah.
Which they surmise as being an iceberg slamming into the side. Could have been the engine room blowing up.
Mm.
And then a huge hole appearing in the side of the ship, which then sunk it.
True.
Not one person saw an iceberg. Not the iceberg that hit it. People saw icebergs around because they were going through waters that had icebergs all over it, but not one big enough to sink the Titanic. And no one saw the one that hit it.
Yeah.
It wasn't like in Titanic the film where a bit of ice lands on Rose's head after it scraped through the boat, right? That was fictional. They made that bit up. There wasn't a rich lady standing on boning some poor kid on the deck at the time when the iceberg hit. I just find it fascinating, right? Like nearly every conspiracy, when like it's the classic, follow the money in any crime or thing. Like if you want to catch the people that did it, follow the money. But if you go back far enough, you follow the money, and it all goes back to the fucking Fed. That whole Bretton Woods and the Federal Reserve, when they basically decided we need to create this agency that essentially is separate from the government, that controls the money, and then that will allow us to print the fuck out of it because there's no elected officials in there. We can just start it, run it forever, and no matter who they vote in, we're the people that decide how much money gets printed and where it goes. Like, isn't that the dream? And obviously all these corrupt politicians are like, hell yeah, that sounds like a great plan. The people that are actually there to serve the country, do you want a free ticket to the Titanic, mate? Gonna be a great trip. And then they just sink it into the ocean, like, laters. And then all the corrupt guys are still left, and we get the Federal Reserve. And obviously we're here, 100 years later, going, you motherfuckers.
It's a very crafty plan if it was indeed thought out like that.
Man, it's even JFK, right? Even JFK, like the conspiracy behind that, like it doesn't matter who you think killed him. It very much. Man, I was watching some crazy videos the other day where it looks like it could be his wife or the driver. They turn around and blow his head off right there. Like they literally do it in plain sight. It's kind of nuts, and that explains why his head explodes out the back. And her reaction is very strange. She doesn't like go to him and go like, "Oh my god, are you okay?" She just screams and then runs from him, and it's like very strange. Like your partner's head just being blown. You wouldn't. Within half a second, she's running away from him. Like it would take a couple of seconds to even understand what happened, and it's almost like she knew it was happening, or had been informed, and it's like, "Oh, it's happened. I need to get away. This is disgusting." Now there's like brain everywhere, and but even that, JFK was a big. Obviously the president at the time, and he was opposed to the Federal Reserve. He was also opposed for the Vietnam War, and he dies, and in very mysterious circumstances. Right, it's one of the ultimate conspiracies of assassination of a president. And again, follow the money, and then suddenly a big war kicks off, and the Federal Reserve gets authorized by Nixon within months of him coming in, and you go, well, now we have motive, right? Before it was like, oh, he's a nice guy, everyone loved him, and some crazy guy just one shots him from fucking 200 meters, who's barely ever fired a rifle before, and you go, anyone can die from a crazy guy with a gun, right? There is no motive really, just he's crazy, everyone loves him, but he's a very high profile figure. The general public are nuts, so it only takes one crazy guy with a gun and anyone can die, right? That's the official CIA explanation. And then you just dig in a little bit further and go, but what if there was a motive, and what if his political points of view didn't go along with the machine? let's just assume this is true for a little bit. Let's have a look at the big things he was opposing. And you go, oh, the Federal Reserve and war. And you go, well, okay, there was big positions. What happened when the next guy came in? Oh, they go to war and they start the Federal Reserve. Well, now it's just kind of tying together. And now suddenly, like, you're going to need a better explanation than a crazy guy with a gun that made an impossible shot from 200 meters in the wind into a moving car. And it's the same with the Titanic, really. It's the same kind of, the more you dig, the more evidence you get to support your thesis. And you're like, please, just disprove me. Just give me something solid that brings it back to the iceberg and I can just stop. But it's never
Trump released. Has Trump released the files on the JFK stuff?
They did, and it contained, as always, fuck all. It's all redacted. Nothing else. Because it's nuts, isn't it? Right? Imagine, like, if the CIA did kill him, right, and it was the driver, he just turned around, had it over his shoulder, and just shot JFK straight in the face, right? Do you think that document, if that document did exist, they left it in the fucking files for 50 years? Of course they didn't. It's long gone, isn't it?
Yeah, it's gone.
What's interesting, like, I think the only thing that, like, could actually be half interesting is when you're being very specific about stuff. And so, like, say Epstein, and you got Epstein list of clients, because clearly he had clients, right? Why is he getting all these young kids just for himself? Like, okay, but no, he wasn't. He was inviting a lot of very high-powered, wealthy people to these islands. So they were clearly for them. So name and shame. Who's on the list? See all the payments between him and them, or companies and investments and all that stuff. Expose it. They haven't, have they? Because that isn't something that you can just hide one of the files for. It's what we know what we're looking for there. It's a very specific thing. You either give it to us or you don't. If you redact the whole thing, you didn't give it us. Whereas in the JFK thing, you don't really know what you're looking for, as in, obviously the suspects are the wife or the driver, but you're looking for, what was the full investigation? Who did you interview? Like all this type of stuff. You're looking for a needle in a haystack. So it's very easy to take the needle out, burn that, and then leave the hay there, and just give you 1,000 or 10,000 fucking pages of documents, and you're just searching through it trying to find a nugget, but all the nuggets have been taken out, so you've just got a load of fucking guff. So people are asking AI to, like, review it and go, so who shot him? And you read this, tell me, and it just comes back with the official answer. Because of course, all the documents that were written that came back with it was this Harvey Oswald guy that killed him. That's all the documents say. They go, yeah, the conclusion is he killed him. That's what all the evidence suggests that is the case. And you go, well, no, it isn't. We know it's not that cut and dry. We know there's other options, but there's no other options suggested in the docs.
Right. We've massively gone off on a tangent from Bitcoin, but
well, it's both of those stories about the Federal Reserve.
Yeah.
And that's why if those things hadn't happened and the Federal Reserve hadn't happened, Bitcoin wouldn't be needed now, because we would still be on sound money.
Plus, it also ties back to video number 1, or our opening credits video, which is Burn the Fed.
Yeah. And I think that a lot of people find their way to Bitcoin in different ways as well. As these conspiracies slowly but surely get unraveled, I think it all starts to send people down the rabbit hole, and eventually you find Bitcoin. I think down every single hole is Bitcoin, right? Because you suddenly realize, why are they murdering people? Why are they sinking ships and knocking down buildings and all that kind of stuff? You go, it's to protect their control over the money. It was either to start it in the first place, which a lot of crazy shit happened to start the Fed, but then since then there's been a lot of crazy shit to maintain it. And it's all not, well, yeah, you discuss any of this with anyone outside of Bitcoin and they'll just be like, oh, you think the Earth's flat as well, do you, dickhead? You're like, no, I don't actually, but But I don't think the Titanic sank with an iceberg now. Freaking, it was a fire in the engine room and it started purposely before they even left port. You can see it on the freaking thing.
The next story I was really interested in because it's something that I've always thought about, and now it feels like it's here and potentially safe to do. Zappo Bank will allow Bitcoiners to essentially get dollars in exchange or as collateral for their Bitcoin. So essentially, you can loan against your Bitcoin. What's your thoughts about this?
Yeah, I think we've seen something similar. What the amount I think is more than usual. So it's up to $1 million. Obviously, they caveat it with eligible at the beginning. So I'm guessing maybe if you're a sailor, they might give you $1 million. But I'd imagine if you're a normal pleb, they probably will give you significantly less. But what's always the gotcha is the time limit. So 30 days to a year. And I just go, that, well, 30 days is basically a payday loan, right? It's fucking, that is no time at all. Like, how much are you loaning for a month that because obviously you have to pay it back at the end of the month. So,
correct.
What are you doing with that to then, you might as well just sell your Bitcoin, I think, if you're loaning it for a month. Like, what are you doing? Like, because obviously over that short time period as well, you might think, oh, I don't want to sell my Bitcoin because I think the price is going to go up. So I'll instead of buying my 10 grand car with my Bitcoin, I'll take a loan off it and then pay that 10 grand back in a month. And I reckon Bitcoin will double in the next month. But instead it goes down by 30%. And now you've got to sell more Bitcoin to pay the 10K loan off. You should just bought the 10K car. Obviously, it can go the other way as well, but I would never bet on Bitcoin over a 30-day period. I have no clue what Bitcoin's going to do in 30 days. Give me a 5-year time frame, fine, it's up. But 30 days, Jesus, it could go anyway. And then even a year is not enough. I don't really know whether Bitcoin's going to go up, down, or sideways over a year. Again, it needs to be a 4 to 5 year period. And how I have never taken out a loan for that time period ever. I've only taken out a couple of loans in my entire life when I was young and had no money. And all of them were for 3 to 5 years. I mean, both. I mean, one was 3, one was 5. Because you need, like, if I don't have the money, divvying it up into 12 payments is usually too much for me. If I'm going to loan 10 grand, right, to buy a car, I clearly don't have 10 grand. So if you're going to go, right, we want $1,000 a month back, that's probably going to be too much for me. And if it isn't, then I should just wait, save for a year, and then buy it. Whereas over 5 years, I get it. Because 5 years is a long time to like not have that car or that extension or whatever you're thinking of. So I don't really. I think it's good. Obviously, it's progress, but I don't really know what the use case is other than marketing. Because, like, when would you ever use a service that you have to, when you're going to loan money against your Bitcoin, but you have to pay it back within a year? Like, what's the use case there?
So I can think of one actually. So from a property perspective, it's essentially similar to like a bridging loan. So you could, and it's funny actually. I'm reading a book on terms in terms of this. So essentially, you could loan against your Bitcoin. You use the money that you get. You do a property up. Then you revalue the house at the new value. You might flip it, or you just get the revalue. You pull the money back out, which the bank will give to you. And I am talking from a perspective of I've actually done this, not a bridging loan, but I've obviously I've done the property up and then got a revaluation, and then you pull the money back out, you give the money back, And then you've not only retained your asset, which is your Bitcoin, but you've also inherited a new asset, which is the property.
Okay.
And you could do that within a year.
Okay.
And I did that within, a couple of months. So yeah, it's possible. It's risky because people do this right now where they loan against their house or another form of asset as collateral and use that as, in the event that I don't pay this back, you can take this.
But that's usually over a longer time period, right?
But usually over a longer time period.
You're going to remortgage 30, 40 grand of your house. Like, they're not asking that back in a year, are they?
No.
Normally
the alternative
it's like 10 years. Or they just add it to the mortgage normally, don't they? It's like your mortgage just gone up, but you're going to pay it back over the next 30 years or whatever it is.
Correct. The alternative as well with the bridging loan is that with the bridging loan, you'll just have to pay a higher rate of interest as well. So let's say they give you the year. Okay, fair enough. You don't meet or you don't come back with the money in the year, then you're just paying more money on top. You could even put a first charge against the property as well. So in the event that you were to sell the property, they are the first people that have access to the house as well. But this is a potential game changer. The only thing I would always say though is, what asset. Again, I've just used property as the potential example, but what asset is out there that you want to potentially endanger your Bitcoin for that is a better asset?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, because that's the weird thing, isn't it? Like at the moment, the use case you've got there is loan against your Bitcoin to invest in something that might go up, right? And it's like, well, your Bitcoin's going to go up, and obviously you're risking it because you do have to list it as collateral in some shape or form with these guys, right? But it's going to probably be held by a third party at the very least. So you have to sell it, but you will lose access to it for the period of this loan. So there's a risk there that Zappo get hacked or they go bust, and your collateral is then just absorbed, just as it did in BlockFi and all that kind of stuff. So you get the fiat of the Bitcoin in your hands, and they'll give you your Bitcoin back. And it could be fantastic, couldn't it? You give it to them for a year, Bitcoin 10x is during the year, and you're like, oh, I took 100k out. Now that same Bitcoin's worth $1 million now. Easy, have your 100 grand back. That was the best thing ever. I did my thing. I spent my 100 grand on whatever I was doing. Now I've got 900k left over that I can just throw 100k back at Zappo, get my Bitcoin back, and what a great thing. But it's when it goes the other way, and you take 100 grand loan out, and Bitcoin halves in that time, and now you go, well, now I've got to pay 100k for 50k of Bitcoin at the end.
Yeah.
And in that example, you should have just sold your Bitcoin. You should have actually just sold it because you obviously need the money for something. Bitcoin was 100k, and then when you end up having to pay this loan back, it was at 50k. So you're now having to sell more Bitcoin behind to make up the difference, like double the amount of Bitcoin. And I still don't get it. Like, it needs to. Like I obviously I hate debt anyway, so I don't totally buy into needing to build the entire financial system again for Bitcoin. I'm guessing there's loads of people that need these loans. I guess especially people starting out and all that kind of stuff. Like that's when I had to have loans just to get out of living at home and all that kind of stuff. Like if you had a few bad months, Jesus, like you're in the red. You need, your car's gone pop or whatever, and you're like, oh, I need a freaking car to get to work and just live. And I can't. I haven't got 3 years to wait. I'm not going to walk everywhere for 3 years. I freaking need the car. Yeah. Whereas when you're later in life, everyone that I know pretty much that's getting loans out and remortgaging bits of their home, it's largely just that these are luxury type things that they don't need to do whatsoever. And if anything, being stopped from doing it would probably benefit them. But they're allowed because obviously they want you as much debt for as long as possible because the more interest they can make. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see. I think the Zappo thing. I think it's only available in America at the moment anyway. And I think they do have a very high criteria for even being allowed to take a loan. And I've got a feeling you need the perfect credit scores and probably have 100 times the amount of Bitcoin that you want to lend against. So that they basically are loaning money to millionaires, and you go, okay, I don't know why a millionaire would want to take a loan for 30 days to a year on their money. Maybe just want to punt it into some meme stock and see if they can 10x it or something, who knows, and then just give up. I don't really get it, but we move on.
Yeah, I'd be interested to see how it plays out on this one, actually.
Yeah, I hope I'm wrong. I hope it is like meaningful in some shape or form, and it brings up more people in. They're like, oh, I like Bitcoin. I didn't like Bitcoin before, but now you can loan against it. I'll buy some. It's like if it does that, then great. I'm all for it. But I look at that product and just go, I don't think I would ever use that product. So
yeah,
it doesn't excite me.
It may be again when Bitcoin's at a place in time where a small fraction is worth a large amount. So let's say you were fortunate enough to have a whole Bitcoin, but I don't know, 5% of a Bitcoin, where you're like, I can risk that. But that actually gives you 100K to go off and do something. Then it may be
you got to pay it back.
Worth the risk. You still have to pay it back. But the asset in which you're going to do it, you're kind of like, well, yeah, I can afford to take this risk. So basically, it's just like a 5% risk.
Yeah, but my point is that you still got to pay it back, haven't you? So at some point, like literally, you again, you take out that 100K in a month's time, you've got to pay 8K back.
Yeah.
And then 8K the next month, 8K the next month, 8K the next month, until you get to your 100, and probably it'll be 110, won't it, or 105 at least. You're not 0%. They're gonna want their pound of flesh. So it's like, so if you didn't have the money before, you didn't want to sell your Bitcoin. Well, it's like the only thing you're doing is delaying selling that Bitcoin by the months, right? So it only works if Bitcoin is going up during that time because you took the loan. Like you set a line in the sand to go, no, Bitcoin is worth this price because I loaned it on this day. So now the entire loan agreement is based on that price. So the price goes up, you're laughing. If the price goes down, you look like an idiot. If the price goes sideways, we just took a loan out for no reason. You might as well just freaking sold it, and I didn't get it.
One to explore for sure.
Yes, it's like NFTs again for me. I just don't fucking get the use case. It all sounds good. Like people can wax lyrical about it and like have whole conferences about it, but I'm sat there going, what?
I don't get it.
Like what? I don't get it. And like, am I the stupid one in the room, or am I actually the one that is the only one seeing?
It's funny actually. I explained it to Mrs. No Show, and I. We caught up about a month and a bit, 6 weeks ago, and I again explained to him the whole principle around the property front, and he was just like, I never got it until now, or properly get it now. So it's like, yeah, so this is why you do it. I was like, yeah. So maybe it's just another lesson in it, and maybe the millionth time you'll get it.
Between me and you still didn't get it.
You didn't get it. You didn't get it. No, I think he might have.
Wait, you never explain the same concept again using a different analogy, and you'd be like, I get it now.
Yeah,
You said you got it a year ago.
yeah. Our last story, because I had my 6 o'clock wake up for the gym, so I'm flagging. But boating accident, a decent boating accident video.
Yeah, I just
So I'll let you to
Wherever I go
play it.
on a yacht, I keep my Solana bags on me. And one thing's for sure, I'm never selling. I don't need this. Just kidding. But I really don't need this. Even if it's on a yacht, I keep my
I have no clue if that's real or not. But it is
Yeah,
quite funny, I thought. Obviously, they mentioned freaking Solana. So you're like, yeah, good. And like,
good.
just imagine if they actually had their Bitcoin or Solana on that ledger, hadn't backed up the words, was like swinging it out over the water, and then the freaking like the keyring snaps. Of course it does, because it's a fucking keyring that you're flying around straight into the ocean. And yeah, at least that's a legitimate boating accident that they had on camera. So if she's got a big tax return on a big like load of crypto fucking profits, at least you can be like, look, it went in the ocean. I fucking TikToked it and everything. So anyway,
Again, I'm sure whoever did this would have, if you're not backing things up, and that actually goes back to the whole duty tax, because I remember when I bought my crypto tag, it came over from Amsterdam. Thought I'd obviously paid for it, and DHL wanted to tax me a little bit more upon arrival, and literally had the EPOS system ready to take my details there and then on the doorstep to pay for it.
no, at least they brought it to your door. They normally just send me a
Yes.
some
Yeah.
dodgy email or a text, and it looks so scammy.
It did look scammy, I remember. Yeah.
I'm just like, is this? Because I know there's loads of scam ones going around like that. The problem is the
Yeah.
official ones look scammy themselves.
Correct.
But I have
Correct.
to, even when the scam one comes in, I'm like, have I ordered something from there? I might
Yeah.
have. And I click round and like look at it and like, if this is a scam website, I'm getting so infected here, and like so many freaking malwares getting probably downloaded. And then eventually I'm like, it is a scam. Fuck, get out, back up, back up. Like, this isn't real. This looks so super dodgy. And yeah. Anyway, it's been a good one. I think we've had like 3 years, nearly 3 years, 3 weeks worth of content in there, all mixed in. So it's all coming from like mid-March into April. So hopefully we're like back to usual schedules. But
Yeah.
who knows, eh? Life be life.
Let's life be life in, and naturally wherever we can, we'll always get one in.
Sweet.
Right. Sweet. Let me take us out, because that was another podcast brought to you by the 4Bs, Bullish Bitcoin Banter and Bullshit. He's been Mr. All In, aka the $1 trillion man. I've been Sir Neverlook, aka the Excellence of Execution. There's no Dr. Evil, no Dr. Evil 10%, aka People's Champ, and no Mrs. No Show. No surprise. Peace.